Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy drink, and of course, Sunblast juices, Topper snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
Transform your meal with the superb quality that is found in Robert's product. Become a master baker with bubble cream shortening. Add a touch of love to your food with sunflower soft luxury spread. Perfect your bread with glow spread margarine. Add mellow cream, that tastemaker flavor to all your gravies, soups, and stews. Rabbit, for the love of cooking. Distributed by Fine Foods, the biggest distributor of the biggest brands found in Dominica.
Somebody book a queso. The most talked about Calypso and the Reef returns on Sunday, May 24, 8 p.m. till at the famous Net of Reef restaurant at back Kennedy Flats for the ultimate web birthday bash. More time, more bagay, more queso featuring the Reddit queso one of Dominica, Danny Jess.
If your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix.
Or the Monarchs in Tasha Picaressa, Jenny Joy, Bob, and Observer. Also the hand driving high playing hitmaker side, Calvin B. Mystery Reds, Abia Checker, DJ Mini and more. Entrance only $20 and powered by Bonafide Sounds. Calypso on the ring for Sunday, May 24th. Nets of Rip Restaurant and Bar.
In collaboration with Good Village Sufria and Stansover Village Council presents the Feast of St. Isidore. Come to the east for the Feast of St. Isidore, May 22nd to 25 in Sansover. Entertainment kicks off Friday with Isidore Princess Show, followed by Isidore Street Line with DJ Rams, DJ Slim, DJ Epic, and Dr. Miguel Labadie. Saturday Fish Night with DJ Afi, DJ Flip the Ball, and the Impulse Band. Sunday, Grand Sports Day, Small Goal Man, Cricket, Diamond Spoon, and more. After party with DJ Rio 767, DJ Snow, and the legendary Midnight Groover. Monday, Isidore Day, church service, honoring of the elder, cultural gala, and more. Followed by afternoon entertainment with DJ Epic, DJ Tricks the Champ, Joyce Stout, Carlin XP, and the Rhythm Knockers Band. That's Isidore 2026 in Santo Bay. Sponsored by the Government of Dominica, Gary Bell, Belfast Estate, agents for PB Rum and Kabuli, George Designs Media, J.S. The Fans and Company Limited, Digicel, and Kyrie FX.
Great things happen when we crunch together. So crunch and share the love with KFC's bucket together. $45 gets you 6 pieces of chicken, 2 fries, 1 corn, 1 biscuit. With KFC, there's always chances to win big. 3 winners, 3 destinations for an all-expense-paid trip with Sunrise Airways, St. Martin Carnival, St. Kitts Music Festival, and Lucian Carnival. $1,500 spent in cash, hotel accommodation, event tickets, and ground transportation. All you have to do is purchase a bucket together. Write your name and phone number at the back of your receipt and drop it in the drop box. KFC's finger licking good.
Dominica, good afternoon again. Welcome to the Talk on the Block. If it's on the block, we'll talk about it. So many issues to explore this Wednesday afternoon with Mr. Sam Raphael, hotelier, businessman, he's the board member, board director at DOMLEC, and he's held so many other hats, including the political hat. So, I guess you can ask him any question you want this time. Where does he stand at this time? I guess you'll have to ask him that. Mr. Sam Raphael, good afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Oh, good afternoon, Matt. It's so nice to be with you and your audience. And like you call it, the big station. I don't know if it's still the big station.
It has been
It has
for
been,
many years.
yeah,
Still
but
is.
nice. So it's so
Still.
nice to be here to engage. We talked about this a couple months ago, and so I'm always happy to come and share whatever I can, mostly about tourism. But you always seem to have other questions. You ask where I stand when I'm sitting right now, so I'm not standing.
You're not
So
standing.
I'm not standing right now. I'm sitting. But it's nice to talk to the people of Dominica and to share information, and it's always good to update people. Sometimes it's not always good news, but you try to be as candid as you can, and respectful. And so,
And we will explore a lot of the issues this afternoon, Sam. But again, let's just go. I mean, you did say hoteling. You've been a hotelier. Is your passion at this time. Of course, you're in charge of Jungle Bay, one of the top resorts on the island. The top resort or one of the top resorts?
I'll let the others judge, but yeah, I'd say it
It-
certainly
it
is
can-
among the top.
Among the top.
Yes.
In the top 5, top 10?
I would say so.
Sam, how is tourism in Dominica right now?
Tourism is growing. We're seeing tremendous growth, and we've, this last year we experienced, according to the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association, a 22% increase, and that's both cruise and stayover. So that's pretty big.
Mhm.
You have to also factor in that we have one of the smallest tourism economies, so that's also a reality. So it's small, but it's growing, and so you look at the trend, and so I think it's pretty good, and it speaks well of the future. For that matter, it's done so well and performed so well that the association, and that's the entire region, unanimously elected my friend and colleague Greg Nassif, and I want to congratulate Greg on being selected president-elect of the Caribbean Hotel and Tourism Association. First time a Dominican was selected. Before Dominica, when you talk tourism in the region, you didn't think Dominica. That was maybe Fig and Dashin. Fig and Dashin, yes, but we're still now making our way in a unique brand of tourism, adventure tourism, and wellness, and that's getting some attention. So, Greg, I spoke to him personally already, but publicly, I want to just congratulate you, brother. Good job. And certainly, Dominica, I think it's an opportunity that he's there for us to shine, in the spotlight, and we should take advantage of that.
What do you think? Why do you think that's so very important for Dominica? He being the head of this Caribbean tourism.
Well, I think it's an opportunity, but we have to embrace it, and we have to utilize him to push to promote the destination, to bring attention to the destination, which is quite needed. And also, too, I think part of the reason that they selected him was there's a recognition that the Caribbean brand of tourism needs a little sprucing up, and certainly the adventure, wellness, the cultural aspects of it. And I think Greg is a good person to kind of push these things and kind of help the entire Caribbean. But certainly, you take care of home, and I'm sure that he will do the best. I don't think that he has a magic wand that can go in there and can fix everything. But certainly, if everyone rally around him and support, he's certainly in a position to help push Dominica.
How long will be that term?
It starts, I think, in December, and it's a 2-year term.
Two-year
He's
term.
there for 2 years. I remember when Bertie Apal was the CHCO president from St. Lucia, and that was big. And they also had another president there, and certainly the head of CTO is from St. Lucia now. But for Dominica, considering that, in the league of tourism, the Caribbean is a major league, and for us, for a Dominican, and I say us, it's Greg, but I still feel, that he's representing all of us. I think it's a good recognition, and so congratulations to Greg and to all the other people that's doing their part in promoting tourism in Dominica.
My next question is a two-pronged question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is our brand?
I think, well, we call ourselves the nature island of the Caribbean, and so certainly our brand is what we're perceived as, and we're perceived as being that eco wellness brand in the Caribbean, and that's where the future is. People are now more and more into health and wellness and fitness. It's a global phenomenon, and we may have been ahead of ourselves, in terms of the brand, but the time is now for Dominica to really embrace, its true identity, its strength, which is all around us, which is the nature. And I think if we play our cards right and are consistent with the nature aspect, to protect the nature, build infrastructure to support sustainable growth of the industry, support the development of the developers and partners, whether hotel developers or service providers, etc., But we have to be consistent with the environment. If we do that, I think it speaks well for the future for Dominica.
I'm happy that you mentioned the word nature island. A lot of the critics out there say, why are we trying to promote Dominica as a nature island of the Caribbean and maybe of the world too? But why are we destroying it? We talk debauch to, of course, segue into the next subject.
I agree to a certain extent that maybe we haven't always been uh, focused on the nature as we should. Certainly, people have a lot of options to travel, and when they want to go on vacation, they can go anywhere. To decide to come to Dominica, that's a big leap because it's not the easiest place, it's not the cheapest place to go to, and it's not the most popular place. So why would you want to come to Dominica and or go to Dominica and not someplace else? And the only thing I could think of, to be honest with you, is because of the tremendous array of natural features and attractions you have on this island. You don't have any place else in that I know on a small island that would have the number of waterfalls, rivers. You've got the hot springs, you've got the sperm whales and the dolphins all around you. You've got the great dive sites. You got tremendous, all of this in an island relatively unspoiled. You don't have that. So this is what we have. When you're playing cards
Mm-hmm.
and you're given a hand of cards, you play poker. You play the hand you've given. You don't say, "Well, I would rather another hand." You play the hand you're given, and you play it well. And in this case, based on where the world is right now, the hand that we've been given by nature is a very good hand, and we must be consistent with that. So we must be consistent with our stewardship of the environment. I mean, up and down the board. And I do not believe, quite frankly, and I've said it before, and I will continue to say it because it's something to me that's glaring. I sit there, I see it, we try our best, but I think we can do better as nature islanders to truly represent and protect the nature on this island. And I
Well,
don't just mean public policy now.
mhm.
People, we like to think everything political, the government should be doing. But my biggest peeve with the way we keep our environment is every morning I walk from Jungle Bay around the Galleon Loop. You know that. You live in my area. I do a 5 mile hike every morning. And every morning I get to Soufriere. From Jungle Bay, I already have 2 handful of garbage from trash people throw on the roadside every single day. This morning, a young man said, "Mr. Sam, they need to give you an award for picking up the garbage every day." That's what you have to do every single day. And I can't pick up the garbage in the entire constituency. But could you imagine the whole island? That's what we do as nature islanders. I think that's the first step.
Mhm.
Everybody can make a difference. And because somebody isn't seeing you, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to throw your empty container, your bottles, and these things. And yet you want to complain about public policy. That's being inconsistent. The way we treat our rivers when we go, we enjoy our rivers on the holidays and on weekends. Turn around and look at, the beach or the river where you came from when you're leaving and see if it is exactly how you met it. We throw things, we dispose of things, we have events, we have a great time, we love our pets, but we often don't even have places to throw the garbage. And so the biggest thing I think is the way in which we dispose of our garbage. And now we have even the garbage collection system and public policy, that's not really, functioning the way it should be functioning. We need to focus on
Why,
those things.
why you think so?
Well, it's just this is effectively it's been dysfunctional. I think it needs to be reviewed carefully. I know people involved in solid waste that's competent. Why is it that an island like this cannot have a system, that seamlessly could gather the trash? We need to know, what do we compose?
Mm-hmm.
What do we properly separate, dispose? All of these things, as if we're promoting nature as our product, as who we are, it needs to start there at the home, and then we then talk about other public policy issues, planning, and so on and so forth. But I just think that in terms of the environment, there's so much more. I don't wish to complain too much about it because I don't want the word to go that Sam is saying that Dominica is not a clean island. It is a clean island, relatively speaking. But I just think that we can do so much more in this regard, and down to public policy with respect to the environment. We need to take it seriously, because if we don't, a lot of things can happen. One, we can be very destructive and do things that permanently damage the environment. And the very reason why people would want to come, we may end up destroying it. If we end up, overdeveloping to a certain extent. And when I say that, I mean developing things that's out of place, and we're not consistent with that theme, then persons coming to Dominica may feel, well, I hear it all the time. I certainly feel like I'm coming to this place before it ends up like Cancun. What they mean by that is they're just afraid that we're just going to have uncontrolled, just looking at numbers. We want 22% increase, we want 33% increase. And at the end of the day, we turn around and we say, why should people come here? And we forgot why they should come here. And then we destroy the very thing that cause people to come here. So it must be something that we must be very surgical with our development. It must be done in a sustainable way, in a manner in which it can bring maximum benefit to the people. We must take the type of development that we're doing, and it must be something to enhance and not destroy the environment. So tourism development must be a tool to further protect and enhance the environment and not to destroy the environment, which is what the other Caribbean islands have done. And we don't want to go down that path.
So why the question going back to the same I asked earlier? Why are we destroying the wash?
Again, we can talk about the debauch situation because to me, that is just one issue, and I don't want to harp on just one thing. Debauch is part of a bigger issue. It's the whole environment, I think it was mishandled, I said in the first place, but that is something,
Well,
I
can
think
it be corrected though?
it can always be corrected, and that's what needs to happen. So on an island like Dominica, we're going to do some things right, we're going to do some things not right, but we can take, cross the T's, dot the I's, make the correction. And I think the effort to correct debauch started, and I supported, I said publicly, not on this station, I don't think, but I think on another station, I think on DBS, that I supported the suspension of the quarrying operation at debauch because I saw it for myself. And I heard many guests, driving to the Jungle Bay that said they saw the runoff and they saw this and what's going on, Sam? What are you guys doing? So I felt, honestly, I was very happy that the whether it is whoever stopped it, but I know planning was involved and issued an order to stop in November of last year. And they've been doing a review of it. And that's what planning's job is supposed to do. If we can send people to Mars, we can send people to almost anywhere. You should be able to at least, my goodness, manage an island like Dominica. If, for instance, the material in debauch, if it is determined after careful assessment that is where the correct material is, it's close enough to the airport, all considerations being what it is, there is a way in which it can be done, and there's always a way in which things can be done to minimize the ecological damage. It's called hazard mitigation. We want to mitigate any further damage, and I hope that planning, they've been looking at, reviewing and taking comments and so on. Ultimately, they'll have to make a decision. I don't know what it will be. Hopefully they'll find another site. But if they don't find another site, and that is the site, planning is the final authority. But what they need to do is to ensure that the proper measures in place that will preserve the rivers, that the water that's flowing to the rivers and so on. And we need to hold their feet to the fire. So if, for instance, planning makes a decision, I have no inside information. If they make the decision after careful review, because they've been reviewing it now for 6 months, they're going to have to make a decision, and that's planning. That's what they're empowered to do. That I will live with their decision because they suspended it, and hopefully they would have done a fair review. And at that point, then we ensure that they do proper mitigation. But it doesn't stop with debauch. It's not like, you didn't get what you want on this one thing and you take your marbles and go home. We need to protect the island, period. Debauch is a part of it. And I don't like to go just on that debauch thing and you forget everything else. We need to look at the botanical gardens. We need to look at all around the island, man. We have a lot. So the same energy we brought to debauch, I'd like to bring that whole same energy to the island of Dominica. And our planning division, I can say, it's not properly staffed. They need to be more forceful. They need all around the island, because when you look at some of the places, Point Michelle, we saw where people died in Point Michelle after Hurricane Maria, during Hurricane Maria. People are building the same place that they were before. And it's like, we just sit there and I mean, planning needs to be one of the strongest agencies on the nature island, ensuring that people do what they're supposed to do, protect the environment and so on. This is something that we need to pay attention to, and you have resource constraints and so on and so forth. But this thing, everything gets partisan here, everything gets political, and people split, and decide whatever. But we need to be, as civil society. Is that we need to be very clear on something, and the environment is sacrosanct. During the banana days, there weren't any political divisions on it. We have to protect our banana trade, and at this time, we need to protect the environment because this is the only thing we have that will take us to where we need to get to on this island.
Do you think we are strict enough with the environmental policy?
I don't think. Well, we have policies in the book, but we're not strict enough for the enforcement of them because people are disposing and throwing things all over the place. When was someone last, dealt with? Because this is sort of a crime against the entire society. Even more education in the school system. So, we have so many things that we need to do with respect to the environment that isn't going to cost us a lot of money that we need to do. And some of us are fighting, we've been at this thing for decades. Some people maybe get tired of hearing me complain about the environment. I get that. We did even with the Calypso Association last season, and guys who's writing the songs, write your Calypso songs, promoting the preservation of the environment, promoting good stewardship of the environment, and taking pride in Dominica because there's big, Jungle Bay annually. It's a commitment we made. We're going to be sponsoring and supporting the Calypsonian that have the best environmental songs, and we're doing that every year. So however it is, we want to get the jingle going. We'd really like to get Dominicans at all ages just thinking about the trash and the way we handle it in the first place. And when we start on a personal level handling the trash, then we can pick up our head and see and pay better attention to the bigger issues around.
On the telephone, yes. Sorry about that. Somebody's trying to call in, but again, you can call. I want to make this program very interactive. The numbers are 449-3095-96 and 97. Let's take a phone call. Are you there, caller?
Yes, Matt.
I'm here.
Yeah. Sam is right, Sam is very, very correct, People are tossing rubbish all over the place. I'm a taxi driver, so I drive all over Dominica. And people are dumping rubbish all over. As a matter of fact, I passed somewhere and I saw a refrigerator. The person probably tried to throw it below and it go below and it stick in the bamboo. And once you pass and you see that, and I said to myself, oh my God, you mean people to tell me the person could not have at least bring that to Labasman or put it by the road, man? And another thing too, Matt, is derelict vehicles. We are not manufacturing vehicles, The amount of derelict vehicles after Hurricane Maria, all over the place. You go to Walking Way, when you go to Trafalgar, you go to many other places. Derelict vehicles. The vehicles are it's just unbelievable. Why we can't get the owners and get them to get rid of it? Get a piece of land if Labat is too small. Dominica have enough land going down towards Portsmouth, Point Wrong on the bay side. You have a lot of land there. Organize a place and take those vehicles there and crush them and put them one on top of the other, man. Nature Island, that's what we coming? No, man. Beautiful Dominica. We need to do something. Trust me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. On the telephone, yes, we'll come back to you. Yes, caller. Yes.
Good afternoon, man. Good afternoon, Sam.
Good afternoon.
I had a question to Sam. I hear he's so passionate about the environment and knowing that he's dealing with tourism. Why don't take a seat on the on the solid waste board, so you could help them and give them advice and so as how to deal with the environment and garbage. I think that would be very better. I would be better instead of DOMLEC because DOMLEC have profit. Think solid waste have profit. Check. Bye.
All right.
But I think my friend, she's responsible for appointing. I think my friend, you just appointed. But again, we need to go again and look at solid waste. But before that, let me commend the taxi driver. I don't know his name.
I don't know his
name. Sir,
name.
Congratulations. I think you are exactly the type of people that we need in those positions in Dominica. And sometimes we feel we are going against a waterfall, but we have to keep going at it, especially young people in education, persons in the buses, persons in the private cars, and raise the awareness. And I'm very happy to hear you say that. And my lady with solid waste, yes, solid waste, we need to really take a hard look at solid waste. If it's not functioning as it should, we really need to go back and take a hard look at it from top to bottom. Is it a funding issue? Because like I said before, I know the head of solid waste. And he's a we talk sometimes. He's from my area. They have a funding issue of consistent funding, right?
But Sam, as you said, that funding, we are aware that many years ago there was a policy put in place to fund the agency, meaning that there's an environmental levy that was directed directly to. And you're not in government, but maybe you know something about it. That is not the funds are not going to that.
Exactly, Matt.
So
So we
why?
need to fix that. We need to fix that because, like the Wasco, they get their money and they have to do DOMLEC. We collect our money and we have to maintain and manage. Solid waste should have a designated fund. And whether it is the environmental levy or if they have to, because every household we generate garbage and they have to take the garbage. Maybe there should be a small levy, tied to maybe the water bill or something like that. I mean, listen, this is not popular with people because people are going to get upset. I'm not saying that the government, I'm not here to encourage the government to put more, bills on poor people. That's not the idea.
No,
but at the end of the day,
I'm
we have to get a source to fund this thing, whether you say it's from the environmental levy or whatever.
It's already
And they-
established.
and
on my
they
point.
need to have a recurring account that they can be held accountable, because if they don't and they have to keep getting subvention, the prime minister have to try to get 6 trucks and this one. Now they need to have a consistent funding source and it needs to be managed professionally. And so that's one of the things that I think that we could do. I'm not here to again criticize or whatever, but we speak freely. I have no axe to grind, whether government or opposition or anything. I'm just speaking as someone that's passionate about this country, and I see that in that spirit. So people, please don't take it as something else. It's not as a direct criticism as such. But we need to fix things. We need to focus on fixing things in this country.
My
That's
point
it.
is, Sam, there's already an environmental levy.
Right.
Where is it being located or where is it sent to? I don't know.
I think you need to ask the correct person, because then that should be in the hands of solid waste, or at least a portion of that or whatever, to ensure that they have funds, and then we can hold people accountable. Because you can't hold people accountable if they don't have the resources on a consistent basis.
On the telephone, hello, talk to me, yes?
Yes, good afternoon. Matt, I believe there has to be some punitive measures. There's so much talking. We go to the metropolitan countries, you go to Canada, you can only put your garbage outside. Again, they have an efficient service. Only when the truck, is coming on Monday at 10 o'clock, then you can put your 4 different things. You go to Abu Dhabi, and if you're not even seen a little thread on the road, and if you drop anything, you're locked up for life. People are malicious and they play in politics with their health and garbage. It's time we stop that in Dominica. Because it's not the government you're hurting when you're doing that. People are deliberately dumping rubbish. The other day I saw something being dumped. I told the solid waste people, all they need to say is, give a statement to say that there is not a designated place and I will come and testify. The people are afraid. They're afraid to go forward. I mean, everybody's saying they should have warden, but you cannot have warden everywhere. We have to be able to look at Ebola and all these things there. It's people that cleaning, lack of cleanliness, when you trace the whole thing about it. So Dominicans, there's one time I think they should have hanging for dumping rubbish indiscriminately. You have to get serious. This is your country. Then when they have an epidemic, now you're crying. I've seen people dumping garbage in front of their own business places. This should not happen. I mean, you should either do it privately and take your truck or somebody to dump your speech. That should be a no-no. And the same thing about the derelict vehicles, and that's something I've been saying even when I was in traffic. You need to simplify the law. You cannot have it that you have to identify a driver that in Canada, an old vehicle there, and if you touch it, then somebody wants to sue you. Man, you give them 5 days a ticket or warning on the radio or notice. 5 days to remove your derelict vehicle is moved. And if they know the owner, you pay for it. Old buildings in the city of Tongman, look at a set of old buildings. And when something is being done, people are crying. These things should be in place. So I think they need to have some draconian measure in terms of cleanliness. Because we go to the international country circuit and we see cleanliness. But people are mixing matters. Thank you very much.
I will thank you again. To your point, Sam, we need to clean. We're talking tourism. We need to clean up the place. Eh?
I fully agree, Matt. As I said, that's one of the major major things about Dominica's tourism, especially as we claim the mantle of the nature island. So imagine people coming from wherever, coming to Dominica, hiking and seeing this sort of thing on the roadside, seeing these things on the trail. So I don't mean to make that the only issue we discuss today, but this is very important for tourism. Also, public safety is very important for tourism. I mean, if we can make sure people feel safe, because again, unlike some other destinations, people come and stay in the resort and they don't go out. In Dominica, it's about going out and exploring all of these things. People rent vehicles. It's good. The rental companies make some money and so on. And we've been relatively, safe, but we need to ensure that our visitors are protected, they're safe, and the island is clean. And I think that would probably at least 50% of what we need to do. And the growth will sort of come even organically because people are coming, they are interested, they want to see this, this Dominica thing, the era of social media and so on. There's a lot of attention. Dominica is getting a lot of attention. And so let us, make sure that we take good care of the island so that we don't have negative publicity.
I'm getting a little criticism too from the tourists, the taxi drivers, tour operators, who say sometimes the authorities don't take care of the facilities around the island, and some things need to be put in place. People need to take care of the facilities. That's where the tourists go, Sam. And if they're not in order, people will complain. I've gotten a lot of reports about that. Who's the person responsible? Who are responsible for taking care of these facilities that are not always in order?
Right. And so, again, I don't want to sound like a critic because I'm not here to grind axe or I just
Well,
came
you
to
had to tell
speak.
the truth. Speak the
to tell
truth.
the truth. So sometimes it's better not to have facilities than to have facilities that are not maintained. You follow me? Because sometimes you have toilet facilities and you don't have toilet paper. That's really, I'm saying, if you go to a place and you're in pure nature, you're in pure nature. But we want to put new buildings, and the maintenance of things need to be in place whenever we build something. So it makes no sense that you're going to build here, build there, build someplace else, and you don't have a system to maintain, to ensure that it's clean. You're better off doing less and ensuring that it's done well than you try to do so many and build here, build there. So I take this person's point, the maintenance of it, and these things cost money, and we have to be honest about it and ensure that the government has a balance sheet and they have they have a lot of obligations, and I run a business, I know that, and so there's but so much they can do, but within that we need to have good systems. Whatever we do, that we ensure that we do it well. Whatever little we do, we ensure we do it well.
I also heard your complaints about the levies being charged to the tourists. Sometimes we need to review that as well because a lot of tourists complain it may be too expensive.
Well, I don't get that much complaint, to be honest with you. When you say levies, what do you mean?
Let's say for the cruise ship, you need to pay $20 or $50 for the day. We have to review that. That's what I'm hearing on the ground.
I don't agree with that one.
You don't? And that's fine. It's fine too.
I don't agree with that one. I think whenever people pay, they expect commensurate value for that. So if they're not getting value for what they pay, I also operate in Bermuda, and a levy for a cruise visitor to Bermuda is over $100, and they don't complain because they know they get value for that. So
But
levies
are they getting value for that in Dominica?
I would think so. They get water. They get. I think that they get value for that. But I think there are ways in which you can enhance that experience. And for instance, the garbage situation is one of the areas that you think garbage collection, police protection, make sure those things. The sites they go to, make sure that they're organized and so on and so forth. But I honestly think we have some world class sites in Dominica that our cruise visitors come to, and that's why they love to come, and that's why to come to Dominica, and that's why it's been growing. If it was if people were getting ripped off, you wouldn't be seeing the growth there. So the value is there. The value can be enhanced, and then maybe we can even charge more. I think that if we give more value, we can even charge more. And that would go towards the proper maintenance of our facilities, as you mentioned.
On the telephone, yes. Good morning. Good afternoon. Yes, yes.
Your guest, Mr. Raphael.
Yes.
A man I think is
a man at what?
of exceptional vision.
Okay.
And if we're looking for somebody who can speak on tourism, I think he's an authority, a great son of the soil. We started with the whole question of the environment, and there are a number of things I often think that divide us as a nation. But when it comes to our brand as a nature island tourism, the environment is what we sell and what sells that brand. So when you're going to branding, you have to make sure that your brand can stand to scrutiny. And the whole question of the things that you have been talking about as concerned, these are the things we must do to ensure that we defend that brand when people scrutinize it as nature island product. Somebody talk about punitive measures. I think before we do that, I would suggest that we go on a national education campaign. Just like there are other campaigns for all kinds of other things, let us go on a national education campaign, because that is the life and bread of many Dominicans. And if we happen to lose it, we're going to be in a worse state than we may be in now. And so, what about starting at the schools? Plastics are all over the place. I remember when I worked in the banana industry, the plastic of the bananas, they would be, in the haste, the farmer would remove it from the bunch, put it on the ground. And then when we developed our homegrown certification system, all these plastics had to be bundled, and we went into an arrangement with solid waste that we would announce on what date, and the farmers would pile it up, package it, and the solid waste trucks would take those plastics and take to the landfill. Because we understood and appreciate the fact that the plastics are going to be a problem in the farm. But now we've seen, with the use of plastic bottles as containers for juice and coconut water and soap, there is need for a massive education drive for us to understand that plastics have to be disposed of properly. And then we would have to ensure that there are wardens who will monitor the disposal. I think the solid waste have tried one or two pilot projects with separation of garbage, and so they need to probably just intensify the education and see how more we can do it. They probably need much more resources to get it done. But certainly the question of the plastics, it goes back to the sea. Every time you have people doing clean up on the beaches, you see the same set of waste and plastic bottles, this, that. We have to get to a state of mind where if you have your vehicle and you're driving and you have a drink that is in a plastic bottle, you leave it in your vehicle. Don't throw it out of the window. And when we get that sense of responsibility, we will know that these are no-nos and we cannot do it. Like the man said, go to the States. In the States, every type of your garbage have a different color code, and if you put the wrong thing in it, the warden pass, and you get your ticket, you get your charge. And it means we may have to get to that if we do not self-discipline ourselves. But Mr. Raphael, continue to do what you're doing for the industry and for Dominica, and God bless you.
God bless you too. Thank you very much. Now, Mr. Raphael, somebody says, Roseau is not tourist inviting. Yes, our numbers are going up, but Roseau is not inviting, tourist inviting. The place is filthy, unkept, broken, and I saw so many dilapidated structures in Roseau alone. What are your suggestions to the DDA MOT going forward as someone in the tourism industry? This person is saying basically the Roseau is filthy. What are your suggestions there to fix the problem in Roseau?
Yeah, well, I hate to sit and just keep pointing to DDA and to who, to whatever, and think of what can we do, as
It
a
should be we.
population.
It should be we. Okay.
We recognize, again, it's not the worst, but there's certainly room for improvement. And what can we do? There's, I think, the city council in Roseau, we need to work with them. I think they were newly elected. My friend, we need to get with the city council to see what initiatives that we can push. Different people have different agendas, and some people are interested in, some certain things, and other people. If we're interested in the environment, I think we need to push that as we're doing now on this program, Matt, and raise awareness. So I think the previous caller, I think he had it right. It's an issue of awareness. It needs to be raised consistently. It needs to be raised starting with the children in school, because oftentimes they are the ones. If a child have to correct you as an adult about throwing garbage around, you feel a strong sense of embarrassment. And so we need to first educate the children that we work with that generation and the general population and see. But I don't think Roseau is a part of Dominica, and what you see in Roseau is symptomatic with the rest of the island.
So it's not It's not Roseau only.
I don't think it's Roseau alone. People in Roseau, certainly, it's a metropolitan area, so you certainly see it. It may be highlighted, but we need a national initiative on the environment, and that we cannot just rely on government to do. Persons like myself, we've got to, and like I said, that's why from the Calypso Association things. I every day on my walk. By the way, you may not be aware because you don't pass Point Michel, but we started constructing the preschool.
I've seen it.
You've seen that, and that Jungle Bay has agreed to build for the Soufriere, Scott's Head, the Galion area, right next to the Daniel Langlois built primary school.
Yeah.
And I'd like to let the people know that that's going well. We raised the funds for that, and its construction we're getting ready to do the ring beam and to start pour the concrete roof late next week, and hopefully in 2 months we will be able to hand over the keys to the Ministry of Education. We're happy to work with them as good partners on this project, and the teachers of the preschool now that have to meet in the church. I met them yesterday, and they're so excited, and they're trying to get playground things for the school. It's really an exciting time. But right next to the preschool, there's the primary school. And when I looked at the garden, man, beautiful, nice cabbage, tomatoes. They have all kinds of herbs. And, when, often them the guests pass through, they have to show them the preschool gardens. And I think things like that, initiatives like that, getting the kids involved. I'm sure the principal and the teachers could find other things to do, or they don't have to put all that effort towards something like that. Working with the young people on getting their hands in the soil and growing things. I think that's a way to teach young people how to love nature. And so that was good. And hopefully, I don't get to go to primary schools all over the island, but I'm sure some others are doing the same thing. But I certainly,
recommend.
How can we encourage? How can we encourage positive things? Not just always criticizing about stuff, but how can we encourage those that take the initiative and do positive things like that for the island?
Somebody's saying, Matt, build a plant to generate energy from waste materials. Costly, but worth it, even for a few hours daily. Generating a plant with waste material. That's an option as well. 449-3095, 449-3096, 449-3097. Somebody says, Matt, your last caller is right and making a very significant point. Education, particularly at the schools. Also, Matt, the fund that ought to be realized by solid waste is seriously diverted to Mr. Skerritt to other areas that Skerritt should allow to play in. Again, that's your opinion there, 449. But people have always commenting on this environmental fund not going to the place where it should have been going to. Hello, talk to me on the telephone, yes?
Yes, Peltier.
Sir.
Yeah, I just want to touch on Roseau as a taxi driver.
Okay.
When we have torrential rain, you have two Dawasco outlets, one by Fresh Market and one by the tourist information. That's coming from underneath the ground. That actually blowing off the cover.
Okay.
And excrete is flowing the toilet papers, and then you can see the excrete flowing all especially by the tourist information where the canopy is. And one cruise ship was there one morning. My brother, it was just unbelievable, very embarrassing. The smell. And people have to be walking. We have to be telling people, don't walk there, go across this and come to. And Matt, it's not the first time that have been happening for not months, no, Matt, years that have been happening. And I cannot understand how that cannot be corrected. Man, if you have to cut the road before you have paved the bayfront, you knew they had that problem. Fix it first and then seal the bayfront. They seal the bayfront. The bayfront is so beautiful, referring to the road surface. And that thing is still happening. It's unbelievable. And then talking about the drain in Roseau. When you leave the cruise ship berth, walking up King Joseph Street,
You have vendors on either side of the road. You have 1, 2, 3 Super Scott said Point Michelle Loubier bus stop before you reach ACS. When the people leave that cruise ship terminal and walking up, these people have to be careful because traffic on either side, and we have to be telling them, be careful, go on the side here, walk on the side, and have to be giving them direction because it is just unbelievable. And a British gentleman, maybe about, so let me say 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, the man tell me if we're going to make stride in tourism, we have to fix the sidewalk. When people come out from the cruise ship, Matt, they cannot even push their how you call it, their wheelchair on from the cruise ship to go. Let's say because you have shopping from all the way up there, all the way down to the ferry terminal. They can hardly push their wheelchair across. They have to go on the road. I mean, it's just unbelievable. I mean, it is too long, brother, too long. And we're talking about tourism. We need to do something. I am tired here. Even when Mr. Sabre was in government, Mr. Sabre was talking about fixing up roads, the sidewalk, and everything else. I mean, and up to this day, nothing has not happened. Not only I have heard everybody know in Dominica that they said they get money for the rehabilitation of Roseau Road and sidewalk and everything else. We are not seeing nothing is being done. Come on. It's more than time. Where are we going, Matt?
Good question. I've heard that many times too. Roseau is a city that will be the envy of the rest of the Caribbean. What is happening? You're very quiet, Sam?
Oh no, I was letting you and the gentleman and the caller speak. We raise awareness, and I think it's good. And I think certainly maybe the message will get out to persons in authority. But I always like to look on personal responsibility to start, and we cannot forget that we must do as citizens the basics first.
Okay.
And it's easy to talk about what they are not doing, whoever is supposed to do whatever we think they should do or we want them to do. But let's keep that mirror focused on ourselves and see as citizens, what can we do to help improve the situation? It's never hopeless for us. And so, people may not want to hear that. It may be more exciting to talk about what somebody else is not doing that should be doing, but we really need to look on as citizens. We're all collectively responsible for all of these things, and let us do whatever we can wherever we are to help to fix these things. And certainly one of the areas that we can do a better job at is in our disposal of the trash. And I don't want to get away from that too much because it's easy to start looking just at other public policy things, but citizens, we must dispose of our garbage, like the taxi operator said, not me. Put your things, save it, take a bag with you, put it in your bag, ensure people in your vehicle do not throw out the garbage because that is destroying our island or the economic future of our island.
Let's take a voice note here.
Good afternoon, Mr. Raphael. Good afternoon, Mr. Peltier. Good program. Once is nature and environment. Oh my God, my heart goes out. My heart is my mind, my body, my soul, everything is in it. Once it comes to the environment. But all what we are talking about, guys, it's all good. It's meant for the well-being of everyone and for the good of the country. But Matt, a lot of the things we're speaking about, there is a cost behind it. And someone might want to challenge me on it. I'm speaking to about Dominica. I believe the reason why things are not the way they are or they should be or as close to or they should be, it's money, bro. It's financing. Do you if Dominica could afford 4 brand new garbage trucks, don't you think the government have purchased 4 brand new garbage trucks instead of garbage trucks 4 months down the road? None of them are serviceable. So it's about money. It's about finances in the economy. No, I will keep on asking, what do we produce? What do we export? How do we create money in Dominica to have sufficient enough to support all these, endeavors, the country's endeavors and things within the country. That is just that is just one aspect. Taking care of nature and garbage disposal. That's just one aspect. So at the end of the day, it's can the country afford it? The finances. That is a big question. And if not, how? So that is the challenge to, I'm not being political, any government, whether the one that's there or one to come in 10, 15, 20 years, forever. That will always be a challenge to any government financing these things.
All right, caller, thank you.
I think he has a good point, and that's a reasonable comment, caller. But I think we need to look at priorities. If you don't have much, you need to prioritize what you can do and what you cannot do. And as I suggested earlier, if we are to grow our tourism, we need to look and see what's most important, to enable us to grow that tourism. And maybe there are some things we can't do, but one of the things that we cannot skimp on, one of the things that we cannot not invest in is our garbage collection. We cannot not invest in that. So we may have to decide. I understand we have limited financing, and I'm a business person, and I government, they have, like I said, a balance sheet earlier and limited resources. I agree with that 100%. But we must prioritize the environment. And I think solid waste and environmental collection is one of the things that we really need to prioritize as we grow, if we're going to continue to grow the economy, period. And I think that's probably most fundamental. That and public safety. Those are the things we cannot compromise and say, well, we cannot afford to have enough police to protect, so we're going to cut back on police. You never do that, right? Mm-hmm. Because that is a priority. We prioritize. The same way we cannot say if we need, I don't think it's whether for brand new or whatever. We need to, like I say, come around and decide what is needed. How is it going to be paid for? Do we have to put our hands in our pockets to do it? But it needs to get done. And we cannot compromise on the environment. There are certain things we can compromise on. We can decide, well, maybe we cannot build this, we cannot do this, we cannot do that. That's fair. We can't do everything. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the environment, we need to ensure that as the nature island, that we cannot cut corners and on the environment. And it must be an area of one of the highest priorities.
All right. Somebody says, Sam is asking citizens to play their part. And they do, according to this text message. But there's no support coming from the government structure. Would you believe that? Would you say that? Would you agree with that?
Well, I think both sides need to do more. I don't think that the citizens do enough. Like I say, if the citizens did enough, I wouldn't be picking up 2 handfuls of garbage every morning. I challenge this person. And I also agree that the government needs to do more. So I don't think it's either or. I think all of us, both sides, both the citizens, individuals, and certainly the government persons, making the decisions and so on. And like you say, prioritizing the resources, et cetera, et cetera. We all need to recognize that this is an area of priority, an area of significant concern, and do our part and keep doing more. This individual, maybe they are in fact collecting the trash. I would think they are, to make that suggestion, but it is not something. I think there's a lot of room for improvement, my friend, there, with respect to the citizenry. And the same way I can also say on the government side, to advise them and to encourage, and to hold their feet to the fire with respect to public policy, with respect to the environment.
All right, somebody's saying, Sam, I think you mentioned that earlier that, that you should sponsor, your hotel should sponsor sort of a school, a village feast in every village that would invest in the small gardens, and making the environment clean, in terms to push the whole issue of environmental protection. It's something that your hotel would take up.
We're very interested in, but we can't do everything ourselves.
Right.
And one of the things that I talked to a potential sponsor about is a national village beautification contest, and it's something that we had hoped to do this year, just like we're doing. I mean, the Calypso, commitment we made to promoting songs, jingles that promote the environment, that's very costly for us. but we're committed to doing that. We're doing that. We can't do everything. We also sponsor the school-based things.
Village competition.
We can do your village competition. That'd be nice, but we kind of need others to come on board. And to see something like this, does it cost us money? Sure, but we don't mind putting our hands in pocket. I'm not saying that we have all the money in the world,
right?
But no one does. But it's a priority, and so I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is, and others need to do that. That's certainly something that we need to do so cooperatively. And if there are others that are interested in making contributions and getting involved, sometimes it's not just financial, it's otherwise. I think that's a beautiful suggestion. We definitely would want to get behind it. Like I said, I talked to someone about that, and we kind of on the periphery, and it was sort of depending on them more to take the lead on that, but we may have to go forward with that. But whatever we can do, I know we worked in schools, for over a decade. We've done a number of contests in the schools and different things, but it has to be an ongoing conversation. And, as I get older, maybe I'm getting more and more grumpy about this issue, grumpy old man. But this is something that the future belongs to the young people. We need to work with them and ensure that we preserve the environment for the next generation.
On the telephone, hello, talk to me, yes?
Yes, Matt. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon to you, yes.
Okay, Matt, I'm listening to your program. It's interesting. And I must say, Sam Raphael has been one of them who has been consistently on your program, educating Dominica and educating me in this village. But when I listen to many people call with the position that they hold, they are in tourism, they are in this, it looks like nothing seems to be working in Dominica. What I'm trying to say, Matt, I mean, anybody you host on your program, everybody has their political belief, where they stand. But generally, it is too often we have people coming on your program, discussing, everybody give a hand, everybody give a contribution over and over and over, all kind of programs on your programs. And it's like nothing seems to be happening in Dominica. Everybody who calls your program will tell you something not working there. That's not working there. That's not working there. I mean, you don't want to blame government, but government always have their role to take. The Labour Party government haven't got 5 years. They haven't got 10 years. They haven't got 15 years. They haven't got 20 years. This Labour Party going on 26 years. I mean, by now, something should be consistently working in Dominica. At least if it's in the rubbish sector, something should be working. If it's in the agricultural sector, something should be working. If it's in the tourist section, something should be working. You mean nothing not working in Dominica? Not nothing, absolutely nothing after 25 years. You mean nothing is not consistently working in Dominica? Everybody is a program, coming on the program and educate. Everybody has to give a hand there. Please come and do something there. You mean that is all that have been happening throughout the years, programs and seminars and education and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, what we're seeing, not working for us. And what I see in Dominica lately and what have been happening, once you're not benefiting in something, you have no interest. And that's what I've been seeing lately. For you to give an interest or do something in your country, you have to be benefiting. It should not be. Everybody wants to be involved in something where they're getting paid to give a contribution, but nobody voluntarily do anything. Where are the volunteers used to do many years ago? The system has now changed. We tired of education. We tired of program. Every time is a same seminar and program and nothing happening. Let's be real, man. Sometimes we come on the program and we polish and we say, but we have to be real. I also have to be mad. That's why I don't like to pretend. We have to be real, and it's too often. We must stop those things and let us get our act together to develop our country. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. I think his point is that we talk too much and nothing is happening on the ground. But to add to the caller there, somebody says, Matt, Sam is avoiding the main issue that the government is in office for 25 years and keep promising to improve the city. Why is Sam avoiding the fact? It is so clear he basically avoiding the question. If a government can fix something, where is it the citizens where is the citizens getting the funds from to repair sewage, water, human waste from messing up the city? This is a question, a statement made there by some text message. Yes.
The last caller's point on the sewage problem in Roseau, that's a pretty serious thing. I was not aware of that.
Okay.
I don't live in Roseau. I am a countryman, a bushman. So
the Wasco should fix this.
Yes, absolutely. And that, but that's a serious matter, huh? And that's something that the authorities need to address, like post haste, because you don't want that type of thing to go. That's totally unacceptable. The previous caller, nothing is happening. I cannot agree with you, my friend. The first statement that the first thing we talked about was the 22% growth in tourism, and Dominica being the top performer in terms of percentage increase. That's not nothing is happening.
Maybe missed that.
Yeah, but that's not nothing is happening. I think we can do better, and that's the message that I'd like to convey, is that yes, we can do better. Things are happening, but there's room for improvements and there's room for fine tuning. I think in reality we have to look at, okay, has nothing happened? Has the government built over 1,000 homes? Sure, they've built over 1,000 homes since the Hurricane Maria, since Eric and Maria. Yes. Are there things they can do to improve those and to put proper maintenance and things? So it's some things, maybe they get it 90% right and there's a 10% threshold that's needed. Yes, but you can't say nothing is happening. Things are happening, but maybe a little more can happen to really get it to where we have optimized things, and that's the way I'd like to focus on it. And people have their opinions on the politics. Like I say, I'm not here for politics. I'm not here to grind axe with anyone. But man, I think based on statutorily, people talk about election and politics. We're almost 2 years away from the next election in terms of when it's due. There's a lot of work to be done now, and my focus, I'd like it to be on the work to be done.
Do you think Dominica is ready for a next election?
I'm not ready. I'm ready to get the work done. People are in office now being paid to get the job done. I want to hold the people that are there to do the work. The idea of election, people like to call for elections all over the region as if elections fix problems. I hardly see elections fixing problems anywhere in the region, So certainly there will come a time when there'll be an election. People will get to choose who they want to manage the affairs. And in between that time, let's get together and get the work done. And that's my mindset on it. And like I say, I don't have an axe to grind. At the time, people will decide, including myself, who I wish to support. And that's that. But for now, whoever's there, I want to be on your back. Let's get the work done.
Do you think another government would change things around in Dominica?
Certain things they would certainly change around, but I would like to see those that are there get it right, and sometimes new governments come in, and the efforts that's put in a certain area, like they walk away from that because they don't want the previous administration to get credit of success. And so
you want continuity.
I want continuity. So I think for the ones that's there, I would advise them, get that other 10%, that 15%, that 20%, whatever it is, to get it right. In the event that there's a change, that there is a legacy left, that you've done something right. So whatever we do, we may not do 100% of what we want to do, but whatever we decide to do, it should be done right. And if we focus on that, I think, and continuity, I think that's what's good. But it's not good, I think, to start and stop. You get nowhere when you do that, man.
All right, Matt, can you ask Mr. Sam, many questions coming here, if he's a principal advisor to the government? If yes...
No, I'm not.
Hold on. If yes, does he speak to these issues that you're addressing now, concerns with the minister's concern?
I have friends on all sides of the equation, and when I speak with the same tongue to everyone. But I am not a principal advisor to opposition. I'm not a principal advisor to the Prime Minister. For that matter, I speak with the different leaders of opposition political parties at least as much and as frequently as I speak to the Prime Minister. So for me...
So you're an advisor for all parties?
I advise on
all friends.
What's best for Dominica. And that's the only advice that I would give. If I speak to Mr. Sterrett, I would give him the same advice as I speak to my friend, Mr. Thompson. I speak to my dear friend, Joshua Francis. I have to mention Joshua because he's probably the politician that supports John Kobe the most. So if I have to give a little shout out, I have to give to Josh because he's always there. And for me, that's politics. So what I see, I'm not being political about that. People, I understand where I am. I'm in the house of the lion's den, and I get that. And we're all friends, but like I say, I don't have an axe to grind on either side of it. We're just here talking about the issues, but instead put the politics out of it because
yes.
Let's see what we can do. The environment, like several of your callers, they affirm that it should not be anything partisan. And I am not here for the partisan thing. I'm here actually in Dominica to try to help develop this country.
Let's take a break. We'll come back, Dominica. Many more questions to ask.
Quality, then you must know the manufacturers of Dominica's finest rums, Belfast Estate Limited. Over 80 years leading the industry with exceptional standards and formidable customer service. We present the manufacturers of BB Rum, Soca Rum, Red Cap Rum, Cask Rum, and the signature Belfast Estate Rum Punch. With island-wide distribution daily, Belfast Estate Limited has cemented its mark as the distributor of choice for products like Eldorado range of rums and creams, Kubali Bear, Corona Bear, Guinness, Root Boy drink, and of course, Sunglass juices, Topper snacks, Vitamalt, and Pine Hill juices. Call the office at 440-7032 or visit the distribution outlet at Jimmy Dominica. Follow on Facebook or Instagram at Belfast Estate. Belfast Estate Limited, your leading manufacturer and distributor of rums in Dominica.
Transform your meal with the superb quality that is found in Robert's product. Become a master baker with bubble crease shortening. Add a touch of love to your food with sunflower soft luxury spread. Perfect your bread with glow spread margarine. Add mellow cream, that tastemaker flavor to all your gravies, soups, and stews. Robert, for the love of cooking. Distributed by Fine Foods, the biggest distributor of the biggest brand found in Dominica.
Somebody book queso and queso. The most deductible calypso on the reef returns on Sunday, May 24, 8 p.m. till at the famous Net of Reef restaurant at back Kennedy Flats for the ultimate web birthday bash. More time, more back, more queso featuring the Reddit queso welcome Dominica Danny Chess.
If your roof leaking and your bed wetting, fix it.
Or the Monarchs include Tasha Picaressa, Jenny Joy, Bob, and Observer. Also the hard-driving, high-flying hitmaker side, Calvin B. Mystery Reds, Abia Checker, DJ Mini and more. Entrance only $20 and powered by Bonafide Sounds. Calypso on the Reef for Sunday, May 24th. Nets of Reef Restaurant and Bar.
Dominica, in collaboration with Guru, Village Sufria, and Stansover Village Council, presents the Feast of St. Isidore. Come to the east for the Feast of St. Isidore, May 22nd to 25 in Stansover. Entertainment kicks off Friday with Isidore Princess Show, followed by Isidore Street Line with DJ Rebs, DJ Slim, DJ Epic, and Dr. Miguel Labadie. Saturday Fish Night with DJ Atty, DJ Flip the Paws, and the Impulse Band. Sunday, Grand Sports Day, Small Goal Man, Cricket, Diamond Spoon, and more. After party with DJ Real 767, DJ Snow, and the legendary Midnight Groover. Monday, Isidore Day, church service, honoring of the elder, cultural gala, and more. Followed by afternoon entertainment with DJ Epic, DJ Tricks the Champ, Joyce Stout, Carlin XP, and the Rhythm Knockers Band. That's Isidore 2026 in Saint-Tropez. Sponsored by the Government of Dominica, Gary Bell, Belfast Estate, agents for BB Rum and Kabuli, George Designs Media, JS The Fans and Company Limited, Digicel, and Kyrie.
Great things happen when we crunch together. So crunch and share the love with KFC's bucket together. $45 gets you 6 pieces of chicken, 2 fries, 1 corn, 1 biscuit. With KFC, there's always chances to win big. 3 winners, 3 destinations for an all-expense-paid trip with Sunrise Airways, St. Martin Carnival, St. Kitts Music Festival, and Lucian Carnival. $1,500 spent in cash, hotel accommodation, event tickets, and ground transportation. All you have to do is purchase a bucket together. Write your name and phone number at the back of your receipt and drop it in the drop box. KFC's finger licking good.
Dominica National Lottery introducing to you the brand new game, Match 5 and Boom. Are you ready to play for the jackpot? Jackpot starts at $10,000. You can get your tickets at any lottery agent near you and get ready to boom, boom, and win.
Ring, ding, 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 ding. All right, Dominica, we're back. Of course, with Mr. San Rafael, who will tell you businessman. We're going to take a few more phone calls before we shift gears. Hello, on the telephone. Are you there? Yes.
Yeah, Mark, we have two topics. We have DOMLEC and we have the environment. The first one related to DOMLEC for Mr. Raphael. What I want to know is, like, for example, a person like me that have postpaid, it might be a problem, but still mightn't be a problem because it has numbers like you call in, and you're 12 person in line. The last time, 38 minutes and 12 seconds. I still have the record on my phone to show that, yeah. And the reason the phone cut off is because I got another call and I ended the call. That is part one with the fault report line we have to look into. Second of all, now, if, for example, you owe in 1 cent or pay as you go and DOMLEC taking lights randomly, when it's 1 o'clock now, they won't say, well, let them just add, they just leave you the current and maybe tomorrow you will top it up, they will take their lights. Like before time now, if you put your little $10 lights on Friday, you know, Monday and Tuesday maybe carnival. So till Ash Wednesday, they doesn't take on weekend, they doesn't take on holiday. Now they start to take on the Saturday and not the Sunday. Then the Sunday they on every day. Now we go into the environment. Now derelict vehicles now. That is my problem with that new Hunters virus and the rodents. Matt, you know where I live, and where I live especially have two derelict vehicles since before Hurricane Maria. It will have to be today or before the end of the week. Take a drive to come and meet our friend by Lucille Swift and let your eyes boil your peas in the entrance by us. Two vehicles since before Hurricane Maria. It's going on almost 10 years there, and they cannot move. And not even Jesus Christ, even though he's Lord and Supreme, can bring it back. So that is what I want Sam to have a little, like, you understand, investment in the government. If you have to help them, no, maybe to try to create something like other impong. So like if the people don't move their vehicle, they take it, and every other day, like St. Martin and Antigua, they charge them $10. So address the DOMLEC issue, then the environmental issue. I listening.
We have a lot of issues that relates to DOMLEC, Sam. Before we move there, I just want to ask you. I'll come back to the DOMLEC issue and the derelict because we spoke about that earlier. The international airport is a big issue we want to address this afternoon. There.
Yes.
What's the latest on that? And are you optimistic it will become a reality by next year, 2027?
I certainly hope so, Matt.
You hope?
Well, it's not, I expect it to, but I'm saying I certainly hope that, it comes to completion. Of course, we hear in the public domain, discussions and so on and so forth with respect to the airport. But come what may, I certainly hope that airport, at least the runway, gets completed. Right now, we live in a global environment that's extremely unpredictable, and some things happen that's not specifically, our fault, let's say, but things can affect because the power plays in the international community. Those are realities. I don't want to go into too much detail about that. Those that are listening can probably understand where I'm coming from. So I'm certainly hopeful and looking forward to the completion of that airport. A lot of money has been spent on that airport. It's been forthcoming for a long time. In terms of Wesley, we've had to cut down and make a lot of earthwork. And it would just be a crying shame if that didn't come to fruition. So that's, some people may think that I'm very strong on the environment, but would accept certain decisions with respect to the material, for instance, going to the airport. Because I just think at the end of the day, we cannot afford to not have that airport completed. That is a project that, come what may, so that's my focus when you talk about election and so on. My focus is on the airport, not on election. So I'd really like to see that thing, and I fly over it. You see the progress and so on and so forth. They need the material to pave the runway. It has to come from somewhere. So I probably have a more nuanced position on the deboche than most people that feel as strongly as I do, because I'm really strong with respect to the environment. But we have to
find an alternative,
or whatever it is, or if it is deboche, like I say, mitigate it to make sure that we minimize the damage. But somehow that airport needs to be completed, and the focus is there. And I speak as someone in tourism. I know how critical that is to tourism, and also just the development of the island. And so much has been expended from a financial standpoint and even on an environmental standpoint to get it that far. So I just like to say unequivocally that I would like to see that airport completed, and that's a pretty big deal for me.
We have heard, speaking to Dave Wash, that the developers can find the material elsewhere, and that is something that we may have to consider as well.
Well, again, like I said, I wish that were the case, but again, I'm a developer, and I know sometimes when you're doing a project, people can sit on the outside and have a lot of opinions, but it's not based on the tough decisions that you have to make. The proximity to the airport, sometimes you have to haul from far away, and that may create even more environmental damage. That may be a huge cost. And I'm just speaking speculation. I don't like to speculate. But on this, I'm just saying there are a lot of factors that have to go into the equation. So I don't know what those factors are. I'm not a developer. I'm not sitting on the financial table. So I would say the negotiations need to be made, the considerations need to be made. But at the end of the day, we need to ensure, Dominicans need to ensure that that airport is completed, before we can say, okay, at least we've got something solid there, because a lot of money is being invested.
But you're saying consider all sides, all arguments before you take that step.
Yes.
All right, Sam, somebody's asking the question. So many questions coming to me at this time. Sam, can you tell me if you are a shareholder of DOMLEC, a geothermal company, and does this company own the geothermal power plant and thus the rights to whatever profits and losses may be derived from its operations?
No, I'm not a shareholder. I was appointed to the DOMLEC board when the government decided to purchase DOMLEC back from Emera 4 years ago.
Okay.
And at that time, the power company DOMLEC was in some serious trouble. You remember we came from the post hurricane, and especially the transmission lines and so on. The diesel generating facilities and plants and so on outdated, and the company needed serious investment, and Emera was not prepared to make that. So the government reacquired DOMLEC. The ratepayers are not aware of this. DOMLEC was really on the brink of collapse, and so bit by bit we had to take it from there. The following year we had all these problems that manifested themselves, or we had the famous term load shedding. That was a horrible summer. Everyone, I'm also a DOMLEC consumer. I'm also, a user. So I'm on both sides as someone with a business that depend on DOMLEC. So that's why I decided to accept the board position with respect to DOMLEC, to try to help to bring it back, because I know how important it is to the development of the country. We've come thus far now. So the geothermal company, it's called Dominica Geothermal Development Company, DGDC, is a company that is a subsidiary of Ormat, which is the company that's developing that developed the geothermal plant. So it's Ormat is as an Israeli company, but Israeli-U.S. company, let's say, and they entered into agreement with the government of Dominica to develop the geothermal, a 10 megawatt geothermal plant, under a 25-year arrangement where they would develop a brand new plant, operate it for 25 years, get their money out, and then leave the plant for Dominica. And as a result of that, DOMLEC now is purchasing the power that they generate. So DOMLEC will be, producing its power from geothermal and the rest of the diesel plants, which is about maybe half the power, and half of the power, basically will come from this geothermal company, and DOMLEC is going to buy it, and DOMLEC is responsible for transmitting and distributing it to the users. So that's the relationship between DOMLEC and the DGDC. I am not a shareholder of DOMLEC. I'm not a shareholder of DGDC. I consider myself, I'm volunteering my time, quite frankly, because as a director, I mean, I don't want to broadcast it here, but really, what I get paid as a consultant when I do things internationally is what I get paid a month for DOMLEC. It's not, but I'm certainly, it's something that you do because it's your civic duty. And I'm also someone that's invested. I've got my business here, and I cannot afford for the utilities where that's so important to go down, and that's so critical to development of the country. So that's my position and my role in that. The person asked, and that's my stake. Did they ask something else that I missed, Matt? In
Are
terms
there
of
government, somebody that's asking a question again, are there top government officials or members of the cabinet or parliament who are shareholders in the said company?
I would not know who the shareholders are. All I know is the government owns a large majority, a large percentage of the shares. They are the majority holder, the government. So you, the people, the person that's asking, you through the government own the vast majority of the shares, and the rest are owned by minority owners, that may, have sometime long ago when they did the share distribution, local Dominicans bought Social Security, I think, through them bought us on. So that's who owns it. There isn't any. I can assure you, as a board member, in terms of the ownership and so on, you can rest well that there isn't any interference on the part of DOMLEC by political sides. And if there was, I would walk off the board. Quite frankly, I would not serve. And that's the one thing I always say. I wouldn't say what I say privately to the Prime Minister publicly. But when he asked me to serve on the board, that's the one thing I told him. I do not wish, if it's going to be, DOMLEC is a company, if there's going to be any political interference, I don't want to be part of it. On principle, I'm a business person. Let's get this business worked out. I don't have any, like you say, axe to grind. I recognize the government's position, the government's role, but I'm here to serve the company and the country as such. And it is run in terms of the board by people with very high integrity. Our chairwoman is the former Attorney General and former Minister of Foreign Affairs, Francine Baron. She's a no-nonsense person, and I am proud to serve with those people. And also in terms of the DOMLEC, we've had some issues right now. We're on the point where we're ready to take off, but because we've been down so long, people don't believe that. They don't accept that. And we're still trying to work some things out. Right now, the Geothermal company just came online and they have some fine tuning to do. They have, to get the system going. And so there's been some instability in supplying the energy to DOMLEC. And DOMLEC itself have some issues with transmission and distribution that we're working on. We're working on redundancy in transmission. So that we're working out. So we're in a season now where we have a bit of flux. I don't like it. We don't like it. I don't like it as a consumer. And I don't like it because I don't like to provide substandard service to my customers. And I consider DOMLEC customers my customers because I'm a board director. But that is being worked on. And I think in part on the part of ORMAT, they've been at this thing for many, many years. They're going to get that right real soon. The transmission part side of the power and the distribution, we're going to get that worked out. And I think we're going to end up having more stable electricity because of this new plant, within, I don't know when to put a date on it to be held to it, but let's see, within 6 months going forward, we're going to have a certain level of steady power. You still operate where you have above ground lines, so you're still going to be vulnerable to certain things. You've got trees growing on the poles and so on and so forth. Sure, are there going to be some level of interruptions? Certainly from time to time, but this consistent thing that we've been going through, we're working through this so that this will become something of the past.
Any timelines?
Like I said, I cannot give a hard timeline because if I do and something happens, but I would say reasonably looking towards the end of the year, I think we should be well, positioned. Hopefully it should come way before that.
Well, tell me though, I heard at the last news conference, the Prime Minister did say that he finds DOMLEC and as you said, you're director on the board. There's a lack of information. People are looking for more information from DOMLEC. Why is that happening?
We got that message, and which is why I had the press conference, but not because the Prime Minister made the comments. We were going out to talk about the transition to geothermal a few weeks before the Prime Minister made that comment. But then we had a major blackout, and we were trying to figure out what had happened, and so on and so forth. And eventually, we didn't get out fast enough. And I'm not about to make any excuses. I think the Prime Minister was correct in that DOMLEC, as I said, if it's not a political company, he shouldn't have to answer to that. That's us as directors. And I take responsibility on behalf of, my colleagues. that we heard that, we got the message, not from the prime minister but from the public also, and we're seeking to be more proactive in terms of providing information to the people and judge us on the future. We should have done a better job in communicating not just good news, but keeping the people informed. We're going through a transition, at least during this time when there's instability. We need to face the music. And sometimes in our culture we only like to go out when you have good news and we expect good responses, but sometimes the response isn't going to be good. But that's fine, we have to face the music, but keep people informed, and that's what we are trying to do. And whenever I'm in the public and DOMLEC comes up, I'm going to speak on behalf of the company. It's not every detail that I'm going to be going out there, because listen, the caller that called and mentioned some issues with the company, I don't work for DOMLEC. I'm a board. If you understand the role of a board, I'm a director of a board that provides guidance to the company, and they have the operational issues. So I can't get into those things, my friend. If you have a complaint, they have a complaint line, or you can contact anyone from the general manager down to whoever it is in the company, and they have to respond. If they don't respond and you communicate with the board, as a board member, I will raise a question to them on the board level, or the board members will raise the
because somebody suggested that for the entire year this manager has been appointed, is not actually been in touch with the public too much. So
and he heard that. I was there when that issue was when that point was raised, and he apologized for that. And I apologize for the fact that even though I don't work directly at DOMLEC, I understand as a citizen. Listen, when you turn on your switch, you expect to get power. You're concerned about your appliances. You're concerned about all those things. And we have to do a better job, and we're working on that. Some things are beyond our control. I can tell you we have technicians that work day and night in the field. I say sometimes they have to drop in the middle of their meal to go out. And it's not an easy thing. You have, even in the East and several parts of the country, where you have, few persons, small communities that also need power. Sometimes I know in this East they've had a particular challenge, and we are aware of that, and we're working on some things. We have to look at redundancy also in the event that you don't get the power from one transmission line. How is it when we have a problem that we can continue to serve those communities? And the caller that spoke about the resources, yeah, that's a major resource issue. Because we don't have a money tree at DOMLEC. The rates are set by the commission, and they haven't changed for almost 20 years, and that's what we have to operate with. And so the good news is that we're moving to geothermal. We're going to be less dependent on diesel, as everyone saw the big jump in diesel prices. Because we're going to get a source of a large part of our energy from geothermal, it's going to be less, but it's still going to cost you something, because we still have about 25% of the energy that comes from diesel. So that's going to be passed on.
So there's no guarantee with geothermal. As you said, the price of diesel is up, that we're going to see cheaper rates on our bill. Is there?
There is. Now, the diesel fluctuation is a factor that we don't have any control of. But when the diesel price returns to where it was when, hopefully the war ends and you get the market balancing, consumers are going to see a 17% reduction. That's residential,
that's guaranteed,
in their electricity bill, 17%, based on the numbers that the actuaries, the accountants did, based on all factors, based on the price that Ormat is selling the energy to DOMLEC, and so on and so forth. So there's going to be a reduction in the overall when you factor in also the fuel, the surcharge, and so on and so forth. So the consumers are going to benefit. The commercial consumers are going to benefit, but sometimes the least is the industrial that's going to see a 9.5%. The tourism folks are going to be in between. And I have a huge DOMLEC bill myself for my hotel. I say we depend on DOMLEC. I've got about a $50,000 bill every month that we have to pay. To see a 10% reduction in that's significant. So, there's going to be more consistency in the electricity, which I think probably is the most important thing, and many people do, but we're also looking at the cost, and we're going to see a reduction in the cost as a result of this exercise. But again, we be a little patient with us. We know that people are frustrated. It's okay, you can be frustrated, but still at the same time, try to be a little understanding that that's the transition, and this is not something that's going to last forever. And once this geothermal company, they have a lot of experience. They operate in over 20 countries, and they are the top in this, and they have their technicians here, and they're running the plant. So it's not something that I think we should be overly pessimistic about. Once we get it going, it's something that's going to be
on
very
the telephone.
beneficial.
On the telephone, hello, yes. Some people have been waiting there for a
Yes,
while.
good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you, sir.
Yes, Matt, let me, before I ask my question, compliment Sam Raphael for his investment in the country, the way he manages his investment, and the professional way he speaks on the radio. I'm hoping that he does the same way when he is speaking to the ministers and policymakers concerned. I'm trying to really get an understanding, but I'm not clear in my mind what's about the geothermal electricity arrangement that the government has. The geothermal company, Sam, do you know if it is owned or majority share owned by government?
The company is a subsidiary of an international company, or not?
Oh, okay. Now, we all know that the resource, the geothermal resource, is public owned. It's Dominican owned. Is it true that most of the investment to generate and establish this geothermal plant we now have really came from the government, whether in form of grants or loans? Is it true?
You're talking about two things, huh? Yeah. The exploring of the potential, the drilling of the well, that the exploration. Let's look at it like the foundation, and then you build a house. The foundation is the risk that the government took through grants and through World Bank and so on and so forth. So they built this platform, and then the company came in and put their plant on top of it. And that's the arrangement. And that plant is owned and operated by the company for 25 years. And after that, the company says, here's the key, guys. It was nice knowing you. You guys operate it. So between now and the next 25 years, it gives us some time to get our skills together to be able to operate it. Remember when, my understanding, because I wasn't around then, but the hydroelectric plant, had to be operated by international people, and now it's operated by locally. So it's that's sort of the arrangement. So we need ORMAT because we're not experts in geothermal, and they are. Plus, this is their plant. They've invested and they've put a lot of money, and I'm sure we have no problem with them getting the reasonable return on the investment. And this is something that's been negotiated. So that's the arrangement. And DOMLEC is now purchasing the power from them. I hope I answered your question.
I quite understand that we do not have the expertise locally, etc., to operate the plant. The focus of my concern is the company paying government, the state, any allowance or for the resource that they are using to generate that electricity. Yes, they invested in establishing the plant. They are investing in managing the plant and so forth. But the resource for generating that electricity is state-owned. Do they pay? Are you aware they pay government any monies or so for the use of that resource?
I would be surprised if.
That's my last question.
Yeah, I would be surprised if they did.
Yes, You would say something, Sam. You would be surprised.
I would be surprised if they did. I would think that is part of the arrangement, part of the overall. You see, because they're not Santa Claus coming here to give anything. They have a certain expertise that we need, and in order to that geothermal power that we have on the ground, the reservoir, it's called the geothermal reservoir. It's a potential. It's untapped potential, and in order to exploit it to the benefit of the people, they have something that we need. Other than that, we have no benefit from it. So they're just basically taking that, and that the geothermal, the steam that comes from that goes right back into underground also, so it continues there, it stays there, so they're not taking anything away, and it's all for the benefit of the country. So I think I get your point, but I think it's just part of the arrangement, and all those things were considered in the negotiations.
On the telephone, are you there, caller? Yes.
Yes, Mr. Peltier, blessings to you. Some blessings to you.
Blessings.
Okay, blessings. Some, it is a bit unfair. I want to tell you something first. Some, this week is 2 weeks, on giving it 3 weeks since DOMLEC blew off my flat screen television. I went there full of form. Some 2 days, I finally get somebody that transfer me. And then I end up talking to a machine, leaving a voice note. You inside there, try to tell them people that level of abuse will not be tolerated by me. I don't know for other people. I don't even say nothing more. Some for you to come there and tell us about, I listen to Mr. Isaac's question to you. And you say it's a subsidiary. Can you just break that down? It could be fully owned or partially owned by a parent company. But if I don't do my little research there quickly to find out what is a subsidiary, I am there wondering what the hell some is talking about. So that whole transition, I am there, the light going off about 3, 4, 5 times in the space of a minute. What can be done to not have people? I was going out the other day. I had to turn off the main switch after they brought off my TV there. I said, the next is my fridge. What is going on for you to have some Israeli company and that company? So you have one snake with several heads. You don't know which head to attack. So that's the bottom line of everything in Dominica, to make things that intricate. So you really don't know where you stand with companies and government. And my beloved brother, talk to them people. Tell them when all the broke people appliances. I sit down there, look at me. I sick some. You think I go sit down there and say, I go sit down like blow off my TV. But I want some redress. And them kind of big words, as people call them, those grammar. When you're using them, you're the educated, you're the intellect or whatever. Try to make the people that are following you understand what you're dealing with, rather than we are lost by the word subsidiary. Thank you.
Sam.
Well, blessings. I'm sure you know what a subsidiary is, but a lot of the other callers may not. So I take your point. A subsidiary is a company that is created and is owned by another company. So it's sort of part and parcel. So if Jungle Bay, for instance, were to decide to operate in St. Lucia, so we would create a local company in St. Lucia that's owned by the Jungle Bay here.
Mm-hmm.
So the company in St. Lucia will be a subsidiary of.
Yes.
So it's a way to operate in a jurisdiction where you can create a local company that the parent company owns. And that's a simple word. And I'm sorry, sometimes I like to think I can talk to the man in the rum shop, and he understands, but I think Blessings called me on that. That's all that was meant by that, Blessing. And again, I take your point. I'm sure that the folks at DOMLEC are listening, and I will go back with some of the issues that were raised. But again, I am not part of the operation of DOMLEC. I don't work for the company in terms of direct as a company employee, so I can't affect anything. But the general gist of the comments, I think, is clear, and we're getting that. And again, that's why we're here to speak. And I didn't come here to speak specifically on DOMLEC. That was not today's thing. But I'm happy to just kind of talk as much as I can and try to explain. And I will go back to the company and to the board with some of those things. Yeah, and I'm sorry that you've lost your television and also your health, my brother.
Did Sam just say there be a 17% decrease in the prices after the price of diesel goes down? Or is he saying that because of the geothermal, the people of Dominica will be saving 17%?
I said both of them. Because of the geothermal, once the price stabilizes with respect to the diesel price, because of the geothermal, all things being equal, the price, the total price of your bill is going to go down by 17% if you're residential. And if you're in other categories, it's going to go down by a little less. That's what I said. The geothermal power is less than what the overall diesel power costs. And the geothermal plant is brand new. The diesel plant, some of them are 30, 35 years old. So we're much better off with the geothermal once ORMAT can get it working consistently. Right now, it's at the point where they are, working through whatever kinks in the initial stage, but there's a guarantee of some level of efficient power from ORMAT, and that's what we can depend on. Yeah. So
All right, somebody suggesting, please suggest to Sam to formulate the customer support team to handle these matters. 2 or 3 members to take complaints in person via the telephone. At least management should have done this. So I will say she is suggesting that you bring to the company that they should formulate the customer support team to handle a lot of the complaints.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, let's take another phone call here. Are you there, caller? Yes?
Yes, I'm there, I'm there, Matt.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon to you and good afternoon to Mr. Raphael.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Raphael, good job, good job. At least, as you say, you are in the lion's den, but you are defending yourself well, my friend. Anyway, Mr. Raphael, you are a businessman, okay? Though we are told that because of the geothermal, our bill will go down by 17%. Is that a guarantee, or is it just a thing they're telling us? Because why I'm saying this is this. You have this company from Israel who is going to run the plant for 25 years, right? What is going to tell us that in the next 2 years, they up the price and then we do not get a 17% increase on our bill? I just want you to, as a businessman, to come out straight and tell us your feelings about that one. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, it's not, they can't make and change price at will. Huh? It's a 25-year contract that they have, and the prices are established as per the contract. So the information I gave you is all things being equal. Of course, we can come tomorrow and there could be a big volcano and the island goes upside down. I can't, see, I'm not the creator of this planet, but all things being equal, based on the proposal that they submitted to us, based on the numbers in that proposal, which they have guaranteed to sell to us, we can say with a high level of certainty that is what that you're going to realize. Yeah. And it's something, when that time comes, you probably won't be talking to me there because you'll just enjoy the benefits and be talking about something else. And that's good, because I too, as a business person, like I say, I am looking forward, just like you are, to realizing the benefits. It's something that I think, my company, I'm not a full-time DOMLEC person, as I keep saying. I am more a consumer with respect to this, that I've joined the board as a consumer to ensure that I get reliable power, that I get, affordable power, and that we as a country, get good power on the grid, that we can even attract maybe investors and investments. I don't know if people are aware, but there was the government of Antigua is now negotiating with Nevis, and the success of what they're seeing now, it's still early, but in Dominica is creating some excitement in the region, and we're here, we're fighting, and I get it, because your appliance and you don't have power. But if those that have the ability to step back are looking at this and are saying, how do we get into this? And the government of Antigua and St. Kitts and Nevis are trying to negotiate with the EU to run a power line between Antigua and Nevis, so that Nevis also have geothermal potential. They have a reservoir also, and they're seeking to exploit that, and they would like to get a bigger plant that would enable them to sell electricity via cable to Antigua, and that's a big issue, and they're trying to raise several hundreds of millions US dollars to do that. So geothermal is something that's in the region. Everyone is looking to reduce their dependence on fossil fuel, on diesel, because it's so vulnerable, and this recent war has shown us that it's vulnerable. And if you can reduce your dependence, on the importation of oil to meet your basic needs of energy, my goodness, everyone wants a piece of that. So we need to just keep an eye on that. But again, we're leading. Those of us that like to say Dominica is behind in everything, we don't have it right yet, but we're certainly leading in this regard. And I'm pretty sure in the not too distant future that we'll get it right.
Are you there, caller?
Yes, Matt, you kill me. Good afternoon, Mr. Sam Raphael.
Good afternoon, sir.
I want to state my name for public record because people don't hear me much on the radio. It's called self-preservation. We on DOMLEC issue, but when we were on the environment issue, I for one have traveled a lot of places, and I can say I love my nature island, but we can do better. And responsibility starts with us as individuals. Then we need the law with teeth to bite, meaning that we need stronger litter and environmental laws. You see how when America put pressure on us, we run to Parliament to do money laundering act and all kind of things so that we can be good in the eyes of the international community, but we need to be good in our own eyes. I think the government is slipping on stronger legislation for the litter act and waste disposal. Secondly, we can make money. There was a caller that said we need money for everything. No, we need a mindset. We need to plan, and we can. Another man's trash is another man's treasure. The plastic receptacles, we can make money into it by collection and redistribution to how you call that, to reuse. Secondly, now, Mr. Sam, I think you're in the wrong department. You need to go to the Department of Diplomacy. I want to ask you a question. What is the return of investment for the company that's investing in our geothermal? I used to criticize the government, 110 million spent and not a light bulb. Now I do not know the amount right now, maybe 150 or 50 million. What is the 20 years return on investment?
25
years return on investment. In other words, for the common man on the street, how much is my government is guaranteeing these people to make from our geothermal, seeing that the geothermal was started with grants and monies raised to make it into what it is before? How much is my government, I claiming them now, is guaranteeing this company on a return on profit margin then for the 25 years? And Mr. Sam, you need to be a diplomat. You're in the wrong business.
No, that's a very good question, though. The return on investment. Would you have those figures?
I don't have them off the top of my head here, and I would hate to provide incorrect information. DOMLEC, we have a PRO, and my friend, any question that you wish to ask with respect to the company, you're free to send it in and get a response on that. But with respect to the premise of your question, I would say I certainly hope they're making a profit, because if they're not making a profit, then they're going to be out of here. And there are lots of other places they can choose to invest. And also, if someone gives you an arrangement where you're benefiting and your customers are getting 17% reduction in the cost, and they are getting reliable energy, and then the plant is going to be handed over to you. I don't know. I don't like to look in other people's pocket. You know what I'm saying, man? So if the people tell me that that's the deal that we're getting, I hope they're making their money. If it makes sense for me, that's what I'm concerned about, and that's what I'm happy about. But I think that considering all things, I think that's a reasonable arrangement based on that, without having the figures of how much they're making. Because there's a risk that they're taking. My friend, they're taking a risk coming to Dominica to do this whole thing, and who knows what will happen. They don't know. And so for that, they are entitled to get their return.
But do you think government should provide that kind of information for the public?
I think government should provide as much information as they can, but I don't even know. So I don't know what their specific arrangement is with the government. I don't know if the agreement that they sign, oftentimes agreements you sign with government have clauses where you have non-disclosure. So certain arrangements may not be available for public dissemination, because let's say they're now going to negotiate a NEVIS, you could understand in their negotiations, so I don't know, my friend. I would just think, as a business person, that's probably something that if I were to enter an agreement with the government and I was an international company doing this, I would probably enter in the contract and make sure that information is not disclosed in the airwaves like what we're doing. But I don't know. But ask the question. I think the government should provide as much information as they can, but we have to appreciate that sometimes we may not realize it. But sometimes in negotiations and business and so on, it's not everything that can be.
But in the light of transparency, Sam, it's information that people want to know.
They want to know, but it's not everything you want to know that you know. I'm not going to tell you how much money I made or didn't make last year. I run my business, right? So the same way, I think if a company is engaging, right, but this is a private company engaging and the customer and negotiating with the government.
Well, you're private, Sam. Government is not private.
No, government is one thing, but this is the private company, very international company, that he's asking for. He's not asking for the government. He's asking for about the private company, what kind of profit are they making? I don't know. And in that, the government may or may not know. If they know, good. But I don't know if they are free to disclose that to the public based on that. And they may be. So, my friend, go ahead and ask the question. I'm just engaging in speculation. That's why I don't like it. But I'm just saying, informing the people. Sometimes there's a good reason why everything isn't put out there in the public domain. Yeah.
All right. Somebody said.
And he asked some other questions, but he asked so many things. And at my advanced age, I'm not young like you, Matt. I don't remember everything.
He's saying you should be trained to be you are a diplomat. That's your wrong field. Huh? Do you agree?
You see, the first one wanted to put me on the solid waste board. He wants to put me in foreign affairs. I don't know. It's like I don't have work to do, man.
Now let us break down what 17% is really is. Okay, 17%, 17% of $100 is $17, right?
Right. Like I say, if your bill is $100 and you get 17%,
$17.
That means you pay $83,
right?
As opposed to, and if your small business and your bill is $1,000, and let's break it down to $17. You go to $830. So there is significant savings, and that's not 50%. That's not 90% as we would like it. But I think that's significant. And the most important thing, like I say, is that we are going to get more reliable power when it gets going. Second thing is the cost. And also, the first part of our conversation was the Nature Island. So this fits into our Nature Island brand that we're working towards. Renewable energy that's not giving off any emissions and so on. So we have three benefits there. And the government has stated now, this is in the public domain, so it's not because the Prime Minister whispers in my ear. We don't have that relationship. But in the public domain, it's been stated that the government would like to further develop geothermal to be 100% renewable. And there's the potential for that here. And I look forward to that day that we don't have to import any diesel to operate our power plants. And for that matter, we need to be looking at things like electric vehicles in Dominica, because being able to generate this type of electricity, hopefully the next plant, we can get the price to go down. A country like Norway, okay, 97% of the vehicles sold in Norway, last year were electric vehicles. And if we are to be the Nature Island, we need to start thinking and looking at that. Maybe there's a way we can have an arrangement with one of these EV companies, to have them test, mountains we have here in Dominica and so on. I mean, we can dream and we can be, try to make those things happen. And I think we have the potential for that. So I think, the future, can be bright but we have to stay on track and we have to develop ourselves.
But somebody's asking that with the cost that you're talking about is 17%, and this is just for a month. So what difference do you think that will make on a single mother's life?
17% less. There's if her bill, if she can save.
Let's say her bill is $50, that only $850, right?
Right, $850. What can she buy for $850? I think the $850 may not be a lot of money to you, but to a single mother, maybe that's a lot of money.
On the telephone, are you there, caller? Yes. Are you there, caller? Or final? I think one of the calls, Sam, we could be there all afternoon. I know you're a very busy guy. Are you
That's
there?
right.
Hello, Tom.
Hey, man, how you doing today?
How you doing, my brother? How you doing?
My partner, Sam, good afternoon. Great job.
Good day, sir.
You're not getting that much blows today, so I appreciate it. Your my callers.
But I don't know who. But I don't know who. I don't know who partner this is. So you have to tell me who you are. Okay.
Sam, any plans for having like what's the holdback on having an all-inclusive hotel in Dominica?
is that something that's going to be too expensive for Dominica? I mean,
All inclusive.
what's the reason we don't have that yet? I'll hang up and listen to your answer.
Do you plan to come out?
Yes. Me and Sam gonna invest something, build some log cabins up in the mountain. Matt, you gonna invest it? You gonna come on board with us?
Yeah, I'll on board with you. Yes. Hello, good afternoon. Yes. All inclusive.
Yes, most persons coming to Dominica do not want the all-inclusive experience because the all-inclusive basically excludes the local community. Everything is there, and you pay one price, and it's too contained for the type of visitors we get that want to come to Dominica, that want to explore the island. So they are looking for the opposite of the all-inclusive experience, Al, and they're looking for, we have lot of these small bed and breakfast things. I think the future is bright for them if they're done well, or hotels with themes that promote wellness and adventure. As you know, Jungle Bay, we host a lot of yoga retreats. We host a lot of, right now, divers. We're now seeing a lot of doctors that come in for continuing education. We just doubled our retreat and yoga facilities at Jungle Bay because of that, and so on. So we're getting a lot of persons that want to come for adventure and for wellness and to explore the island. But the all-inclusive is basically, it's all in the hotel, and I think most people don't want that. However, I don't think there's anything prohibiting anyone from making their hotel an all-inclusive. And certainly, for instance, at Jungle Bay, we have a package that's almost all-inclusive, and you pay one thing and you get all the tours and daily spa treatment, all your meals. The only thing we make you pay for is the alcohol. That's the only thing. It's a sin tax. You have to pay for that. But other than that, it's effectively an all-inclusive package, and some people go for that. But we have a lot of new hotels that are being built under the CBI program, and maybe some of them will go the all-inclusive route.
How is the CBI, Sam? Now that you mentioned it, how is the CBI?
I think it's had better days. I think the whole Caribbean CBI
challenging
industry is under some challenge, some severe scrutiny, and some reduction in demand at this stage. And it was never meant to last forever, and so there's going to be a transitioning of the CBI out of the CBI. But it's still ongoing, and it's the source of the funding for the airport that I spoke about. So, I'd like to see that airport completed. So for me, the most important thing is that, we're able to continue to raise funds through that CBI program. If they would just focus on that airport, just get that airport built finished, and so I certainly hope that CBI program.
Do you think we have enough money to complete this airport?
I don't know exactly how much they have, Matt, but we certainly need to, need to raise the funds. I don't think they have all the money, which is why I say I hope it can continue at least until that airport is completed.
Somebody's asking, can you maybe next time bring one of the techs from the geothermal plant to come to the show to explain just how the system works?
Again, I don't work. We purchase power from the geothermal company.
But you're seeing a lot of the techs on the ground. Do you have any influence to bring one of them with you to explain how it works?
I am on the board of DOMLEC. Okay. That's one company. We buy power from the geothermal company. That's an ORMAT subsidiary. That's two completely different companies.
Okay.
So you, Matt, should feel free to invite someone from the geothermal company to come here and explain to your customer, because it's a different company, and I'm on the board of DOMLEC. We have no oversight over the geothermal company. That's like a wholesaler that we sell in retail, and we buy from the wholesaler, and they are equivalent to the wholesaler to us.
Frankly,
but I think it would be good if you were to get them here, and at least they can inform. A lot of the young people may be interested in knowing a little about the technology, and those people that are not so young also. So,
Franklin, you've been listening. You only to ask a question.
I was asleep, and I said, Sam, and he said, yeah, and I said, well, can I come? He said, yes, but the question is, Sam, what do you foresee for the future under the CBI and under the tourism department? Are we in for a shock as it dwindles, or are some businesses already safe?
I am hoping, because I don't know people's, the financial state. Jungle Bay was developed under the CBI program, and we're operating and we're ongoing. Certainly Secret Bay, they opened in a modular way, and they're ongoing. Other hotels in different, stages. But I certainly hope that we can get the benefit out of every one of the projects that collected money under the CBI program to fulfill the mandate, you know?
Yeah. I just say fulfillment. You remember when CBI meant Caribbean Basin Initiative?
Yes, that was.
What do you think of that?
Well, you're telling how old we are, frankly.
No,
I was Ronald Reagan Caribbean Basin Initiative. Yes.
Somebody says, ask Mr. Sam. Is there a phase out plan to pull out from the redundant generators and should have been decommissioned years ago? And if can you tell us the schedule of that?
Yes, correct. There is a phase. There's no sense you operate those diesel plants and put diesel in, and you're getting power cheaper consistently from the geothermal plant. So yes, they'll be phased out. But right now we're in the transition. We can't put them down now because, as we see, the geothermal is still in flux. So we're going to, phase them out as geothermal phases in. And that's a matter, operational matter. We have departments and, the production and so on. They're going to be handling that. But yes, we're going to phase out some of the old plants. We're still going to keep some of the diesel plants for redundancy, also, and we're going to need to keep some to provide that other 25% of the electricity that the island will need.
When Sam is here, the telephones keep going. So let's take two more phone calls and wrap it up for the afternoon. Hello, talk to me. Yes. Caller, are you there?
Good afternoon, Matt.
Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Matt. And good afternoon to Sam.
Yes,
this
sir.
is Arthur, Matt.
Hi, Arthur.
On the geothermal, I'm a very strong proponent of renewable energy, and but I'm also a very strong proponent of following the established procedures for developing and introducing geothermal into the online grid for any country. And there are some very clearly established procedures for doing that. And one of them is that when you construct a plant, you have to run it for a period as a pilot, not as a commercial venture, because the issue of geothermal is peculiar sorts of energy being the lava reservoirs below, is that you don't really know fully about the reliability and sustainability of the source until, according to the handbook prepared by all countries that operate geothermal, you have to run a pilot plant for between 3 and 5 years to establish the safety and the credibility of the source. In addition to that, you run it for a pilot period during which, yes, you can, make it available to as Sam is saying, retail purchasers and so on. But at the same time, you will not really know the actual cost of production per kilowatt hour until you complete the pilot period of operation. And I'm intrigued because I'm trying I have colleagues throughout the region who are following this very, very closely. And they ask me, well, what is the cost of production of power from the geothermal? I said, I don't know. But I'll ask, and I hope to maybe ask some of the technical staff, but as Sam is on, I thought I would call him and say that we know what the cost of production from diesel is, because we have monitored that over the years and it's well established. We also know the cost of production from hydro, because we've also had a good experience with hydro for many, many years, but we have not the actual of the what the cost per.
Yeah, Athi, I'm sorry. At the end, you phased out. So, but I will speak to your question the best I can. Again, I don't work for the geothermal company. I don't work for DOMLEC. I can speak from the board's perspective. So I don't know what I can tell you what the arrangement is. And it is that they are in the commissioning stage right now. So there is a time. So they're not full commercial production yet. Right now, you can see that trial period.
Right.
So that's what's going on. But it's not 3 to 5 years. It's happening now. and I can tell you, maybe within a month or two, certainly we will move over to full commissioning. So it may be that while it was in an earlier stage of development of the concept of geothermal, they will require 3 to 5 years. But right now, based on the information, based on the what I have, and based on the arrangement, it is a much shorter period, I can tell you. And that's the actual on the ground. So you can take that, it is just what it is. That's that. And these guys have tremendous experience in it, and they have agreed to a fixed price to sell DOMLEC the power. Now, I don't know if I'm authorized at this point to see what DOMLEC is purchasing its power from wholesale, the geothermal. I don't want to do that now because I'm not authorized by the board. Yeah. But I can tell you on contract, there is a contract that they've signed that they are liable for to sell it at a fixed price. So whatever, within that arrangement, I don't know, like I told the previous caller, I don't know what the people's account is. I don't know what their profit margin is. I don't know these things, but what I know is what they're selling it to us for on agreement. They must have taken everything into consideration based on the experience to know that at least they can make a profit selling it at that price, and that's the arrangement that exists. Yeah,
I think
fully understand it. I fully understand, but we will have more time to discuss it because I believe the period of exploration, which is the drilling, but not what I was referring to, from the date you turn the plant on, you commission the plant, you have to run it for a period of time so that you get the full extent of all your cost factors included in the calculation, of course. I guess we will have to assume that OMAT has done that, so they know what their costs are before they give you a price on offer. But it just seems important from a public standpoint. Certainly, I feel we need to know what are the comparative costs. I have data that says geothermal is not as competitive as solar or wind and so on and so on. So let us, in the spirit of transparency, it might be helpful to have a fuller discussion about the cost and pricing structure for energy in Dominica. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I would respond to, in terms of geothermal versus solar. There's another benefit to geothermal, and it's the consistent energy. Solar you get from the sun, so when the sun is shining, you get that power. But at nighttime, you have to store it by battery, and the cost of solar, we know, is the sun, is the battery storage, and also some days you may have rainy days and cloudy days, and so the solar energy is much more vulnerable than the geothermal. The geothermal is morning, noon, and night. Holidays, weekends, it's just flowing and it's just generating power all the time, for immediate use.
Sam, can you take one final call?
Yes.
Our final call for the afternoon there. Today, Wednesday, the 20th of May, 2026. Are you there, caller? Final call, yes.
Mr. Raphael, while we talk tourism, good afternoon. When we look at Roseau, the road to the valley, there's never a time I pass and don't see that drain in a mess. It's very, very always untidy. The entrance of the gate to the botanical gardens. Secondly, today I'm saying if some private sector would at least build a factory, because right now we're in the mango season, tourist season is closed, some people need a job, and all the mangoes are polluting in Dominica. That's what I had to say.
All right. A business idea.
Franklin, that's a good thing for you to do.
It's easy to see how mangoes.
No, I don't mean to make light of that. I love mangoes.
No.
So
I'm a proponent.
But again, because it's an interesting idea, but we need to, business. I don't mean to go into something too deeply because this is as a business person, but there are factors more than the supply of mangoes in terms of having a successful mango business to sell. You have to look at the cost of, is it competitively, is it the least expensive jurisdiction to build a mango factory in? How close are you to the markets? Because Dominica in itself is a small market where you can say by the time, so there are a lot of factors. You can't just build a factory and, as we have just build a plant, build this. You have to have to be able to sell, to market, and so
So
on.
you must do market research.
All the logistics that'll get you from that mango to being on the shelf in some metropolitan area. And is it more cost effective to do it in Latin America or someplace with a bigger economy, with lower labor costs, easier shipping and transportation and so on, which is why we're not competitive in the banana trade in the open market. So my friend, I take your point, but and I don't mean to get into the weeds, into the details, but sometimes when we just say build a factory or so on, business is a little more complex than that, especially when you have to sell to the international market. Yeah, Matt, thank you so much for the invite to your program. Again, once a year. So
once a year,
I came last year. So
once a year, so you need to come back more often, right?
Once a year. But thanks for the invite and your callers. I certainly hope people got some benefit. And it's just good to talk. Sometimes you just shed some information. And like I told the caller before, we have a lot of work to be done on this island. The cup is always half full and half empty. Let's try to fill up the half full part. We are blessed to live on the nature island. Let us just enjoy the little things, man. Just walk and enjoy. Don't frustrate ourselves more than we have to frustrate ourselves, and love each other. Huh, Franklin?
I can give you a terminology. If you can't be with the butter, fly with the butterflies.
That's right.
All right, folks, this is it for us here. I'll leave you with some instrumental music, reggae. Just relax a bit there on this Wednesday afternoon.